For all the people who got a chance, I was telling them that INmune, you know, God was giving you a chance to get out of this stupid stock. And of course, none of those longs took it. Poor people, man. You know, it is what it is. You have to learn the hard way. You have to learn lessons you'll never forget. But I'm trying to figure out if I should give, if INmune does work, it meets its primary endpoint. I'm trying to debate this. If I should name my firstborn son INmune Shkreli. One of these days I'm going to be wrong. If you want the one reason to short INmune, short sellers are not good for the economy, man. They ruin everything. I hate it when somebody can sell a stock. That's the worst. You should only be allowed to buy. Selling just messes things up. You should have to write a 10-page essay anytime you sell as to why you're betraying capitalism. Oh wait, we don't live in a crazy land where crazy people make the rules. Thank God. Let me get this last points here. All right. It's halted? Oh boy. Wait, what? No. How are they doing this? They can't do an ATM? How? How is that legal? How, Sway? You have material non-public information. They raised money at 6:30. Oh. But like both scenarios, it's bad news. Okay, so let's say the data is really good. Why in the world would you do a pipe unless you're literally out of money right now? Which even still, you can wait a day. You call your vendors and say, "Listen, man, we're good for it. I will pay you double. Don't worry." You just call your vendors and say, "Listen, man, we're good for it." Because the problem is, if you sell 3 million shares at $6 and the data's good, guess what happens? Let's say I'm long 1 million shares. I say, one, what are you doing selling at 6 when you could sell it at 60? 2, why didn't you put me in the deal? It's a securities lawsuit either way. Securities fraud. You're perpetrating fraud on the market. And who buys it without getting the material non-public information? Okay, let's say it's bad. Well, I guess if it's bad, think of it this way. The buyer knows what they're getting into, okay? The buyer says, I want to buy. Management says, listen, man, we can't, tell you what the data is. And the buyer says, I don't care, I want to buy, okay? The buyer pays $6.30. Data comes out on Monday, it's not so good, goes to $1. I don't think the longs are mad, and they're the only ones that have a stake in this. Shorts don't have securities rights. The only real way this makes sense is if the data's bad. Because if the data's good, Levi Korsinsky's like, hold my beer. Let me do this. They're going straight to Levi Korsinsky. They're not doing any of these little law firms. They're going straight to Levi. They're not doing Rosen Law Firm. Levi and Korsinsky's like, stop everything. Let's go. Let's go. Get the lawsuit ready. We wanted to hit the tape today. This is for the history books. Levi and Korsinsky. Let's go. You know what? Man, I'm gonna call Levi, man. What's his number, man? What's his number? I'm snitching. Hi, I'm looking for one of the partners. This is Martin Shkreli, famous investor.
Sure. Who are you looking to speak to?
Either Mr. Levi or Ed, either one. I mean, I have an interesting lawsuit for them to ponder on. They'll recognize my name, Martin Shkreli, Shkreli.
Have they helped you with lawsuits in the past?
No, but my name's a pretty big name on Wall Street. Can you short? So if they did the RD at 6:30, can you short at 12 and cover at the same time, basically? We asked ChatGPT. I think you can give MNPI for a wall cross deal, but once you're in possession of MPI, you cannot trade. No, they have the data. Of course they have the data. So here's what I think is happening. Let's say this is kind of genius. I have to admit, I should have done this, to be honest. But you got to think quickly and act quickly and have a good banker relationship. So basically, let's say you're big hedge fund one, not big, whatever. Doesn't have to be big. Hedge fund one, hedge fund two. Hedge fund one is short 1 million shares of INmune. Hedge fund 2 has no position. Nobody's long INmune, right? So that's normal. You see the stock go up from, what, 6 to 14. You call up, this is a telephone, their banker or their CFO, and you say, look, I'll buy 3 million shares at your last close, $6.30. And they say, whoa, wait a second. You know we're about to announce Alzheimer's results on Monday, right? And they say, yeah, of course we know that. So you want in on our stock right before then? Yeah, the market's not that liquid. We want to buy 3 million shares at 6:30. And they say, well, look, you know the stock's trading at 14 right now. We can't sell you at 6:30. And they say, take it or leave it. You don't want the money? That's fine. Do you want the money? They check. They say they put the guy on hold, and they say, of course we need this money. We're about to announce a failure. Need to survive after this. So let's raise some money. We'll take it. We'll sell you 3 million shares at 6:30, but you know, we're not going to tell you what the data is. The hedge fund says, oh, it's no big deal. We'll see what the data is on Monday. We have a good feeling about it. So hedge fund 1 had no position before. They get 1.5 million shares. Hedge fund 2 now gets 1.5 million shares. They're actually long. But all the while, they're allowed to short. They send it right back down to 6. And all the money from 14 to 6 is free money. So if they were able to short, I don't know, say they shorted it at 12 on average, some at 14, some at 10, some at 8, they made $18 million in a day, which even if you're a $1 billion fund, 18 million split between the two of them, 9 million, hey, that's 90 basis points. That's probably one of your best days of the year. You never got material non-public information from the company, right? You don't want to know, don't ask, don't know, don't tell. I'm free to trade the stock. Only information we have is the company is willing to take stock at $6.30, which if you had great data coming out tomorrow, why in the world would you do that? You would sell 50 million shares at $60. They raised 300 million. Well, that's even more than that. So it's over.
Is this Morgan?
Yep.
Hey, Adam Afton here.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to meet you.
Likewise. I don't know if you've ever heard about me and my shenanigans.
I have.
Okay. Just making sure I didn't have to give you a lengthy introduction.
No. I have to make sure that I've never tried to hold you accountable for said shenanigans.
That's exactly. I'm believe it or not, I've never committed a crime in my life, but you know, that's another story for another day. So there's a company that I wanted to bring to your attention. I see you guys on the tape on the newswire all day long, and I thought this would be an interesting one for you to look at. It's called INmune Biosciences. And I haven't seen this in my career, 25 years of watching biotech and pharma. I've never seen this. So it's the stock ticker is INMB, Ivan, Nancy, Mary, Boy, INmune Bio. So these guys are developing an Alzheimer's drug. And a lot of people are watching and waiting for the results of it. They have data coming out on Monday. They announced that yesterday they would be presenting this data on Monday. It's a sort of game-changing make or break situation. If the data is good, the company is the next Amgen. If the data is bad, the company goes to zero and has big problems. And the company on Thursday presumably is in possession of the data. They've decided that, you know, they're going to announce it on Monday. And this is all consistent with their guidance. They've said in the past that, you know, the data would be released publicly by the end of the month. So the timing jives perfectly. To my amazing shock, again, I've never seen this. They decided to do a registered direct offering today, which, you know, is puzzling because if you have the MNPI, you could wall cross investors, I suppose, and say, look, yeah, we're going to give you the MNPI, but you have to keep it in confidence, and then when it's public, you can trade it. And I've done that many times in my life. I've wall crossed people. I've been wall crossed, and you know, I think that's fairly normal. To me, it's just such a weird thing to do this RD registered direct right before the data, because on one hand, if you have the data and it's good, you should just wait a day.
Why wait?
Right? If you have the data and it's bad,
are you? Be pissed at you.
Yeah, I mean, I would think on the same token, like as I was waiting for you to call me back, I was thinking this through. I'm like, well, technically, if let's say you're a hedge fund and you buy this registered direct and you say, no, don't wall cross me. Don't give me the data. And they did this registered direct, mind you, at a 50% discount to the last sale price.
Is it
5.0. So the stock was $6.30. They said, all right, we'll take the shares at $6.30, but the stock's trading at 14 this morning. And, you know, good for the hedge fund, I guess, because the company, you know, did it. But it's just one of the strangest things in the world to me. And I just thought, like, if there's somebody I'm going to call, it'd be Levi Korsinsky, because I see you guys all the time hunting these down. And this might be too small potatoes for you at this point. I know you guys have grown, but I just don't know what to make of this. And I was curious what you think and if this is something you'd pursue.
Look, I mean, I appreciate the call. Always like to get, you know, tips from investors. I do. The fact that you are who you are kind of makes it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not
in the company, or no?
I'm not looking to be a plaintiff here. You know, I'm not the right guy for that. You can find somebody that owns the stock that's going to be angry. I think on Monday the stock. So my theory is the data's bad. On Monday the stock's going to drop 90%. I do think they've made misrepresentations. I think they've made an enormous number of misrepresentations and omissions. I am short the stock. But, you know, I've also been warning longs who are predominantly retail investors. I've been warning them to stay away from this company. I've been in biotech my whole life. I've run billion-dollar biotech companies. There are so many red flags here. I don't know if we're, you know, I'd make some idiom here, but you know, you get my point. It's covered in red flags. And the company had this phase 1 data that, you know, if you've been in biotech, you know how this works. But if you haven't and you're a new retail investor, you might be getting fleeced. You know, they basically didn't disclose most of the data despite having it. And a careful examination of the data would have revealed that the drug was very unlikely to work, but they cherry picked it. And again, this pipe, or it's not a pipe, it's a registered direct. It's just so bizarre to me that, you know, you can do the registered direct on Monday or next week or 2 weeks from now when, you know, you pick, whether you win or lose, you know, say you lose, pick up the pieces, you do the registered direct. They don't want to sell 10 zillion shares at 5 cents. So I can't blame them for trying to sell it at 6.30. But if the company is in possession of MNPI and they're basically saying, here you go, hedge fund 1 and 2, we know we're going to fail. So here's a bunch of stock. Do what you will with it, but we really need this cash, and I'd rather sell this at $6 than $1. And again, just bizarre. So I'd leave it with your hands. I mean, to me, it's, again, you'll see on Monday. I mean, I'm almost certain.
I'm going to watch out for this Monday. Let me ask you, you know, being that you've been on the other side of it, with, you know, why would hedge fund 1 and 2?
Yeah. So this I thought this through as well, because I said, well, why in the world would you buy the stock the day before? Unless 1, you're really, really bullish, or 2, you're going to get wall crossed, in which case that's a securities problem too, I think. If you know it's good and you're wall crossing 2 people, you know, I'd be pretty furious if I was long. And then Monday it's at $60 or $100 a share because they cured Alzheimer's, which, you know, is distinctly possible. I grant that. It could be good news. I'm prognosticating. But, you know, so what I think happens is pretty simple, is if you see the stock at 14 and the stock's at 6.30 and you're a hedge fund and you say, listen, I'll buy stock at $6 right now. You guys are out of cash. You need the cash. I don't want to know the results. I just want stock at $6. And they say, yes, you just short the stock at 14 with impunity. And as long as you know, I calculate you can make a quick $10 million. And you're basically set your cover price on your short. So if you could short it at 12 or 14, and then the company directly gives you the shares at 6, you're happy to buy them at 6 because it's basically arbitrage. It's an instant profit.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. So they don't much care, right?
I don't think.
Well, all right. So I guess we'll see what happens on Monday.
Yeah. I thought this was, again, 25 years following biotech. You don't think you could be surprised, but here it is. Well, yeah, we settled a class action a long time ago at Retrophin. I forgot. You know what? It was like it might have been a 10B. It might have been a thing where I did a short swing profit, but it might have also been some other thing. biotech's uniquely, kind of attuned to this because there's always data that management thinks is not material. And, at least 1 out of 5 or 10 companies kind of plays that a little too closely.
I'm so pleased just to get the privilege to speak with you.
Thank
certainly
you.
been.
It's just a weird thing to do. I kind of understand it now, and I think it's probably legal. I think the bigger problem comes Monday where they have to reveal their data, and anybody who took a fine-tooth comb to this kind of already saw that, the writing on the wall. And this strange registered direct is kind of confirmation of that. Because again, if the data were fantastic and you cured Alzheimer's, you just wait till tomorrow. I mean,
two Alzheimer's companies I've been looking at is Cassava.
Oh,
I think they're down in Texas, and then some little company, Anavex.
well, so you're going 3 for 3 because I was the big short seller in Cassava. I wrote a long piece on that, 40-page paper on it, and I made millions of dollars on that. And Anavex is coming soon. And Anavex is largely a scam.
I've tried to get them twice now. I just lost the other week.
I'm sorry to hear it, but you have plenty of chances. I'll send you under separate cover some interesting stuff on that. But you probably are as good of a short seller as anybody, but you don't trade.
I mean, sometimes I think maybe I should do that instead of doing what I do now. Because I think the return on investment, actually doing the short selling, is probably much better.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, it's also frustrating because the hope springs eternal, and there's always a sucker born every minute. There's a guy that lost $70 million in Cassava.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I've spoken with him already.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to speak with him again.
I talked to him and I begged him. I said, Matt, you don't know biotech. I can tell. I've been doing this my whole life. You're going to lose all your money. If you want to make a big splash in biotech, start with 5 million. I deal with guys, some of the biggest names in business. Even Bill Gates doesn't put $70 million in a random biotech.
Lost so much money on Cassava. I mean, it's incredible. And I don't think he's probably said the same to you. He wants to purchase the assets out of bankruptcy when the time comes.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll happen. Sure. I've done that successfully. This drug just was for fraud from the start. The chemistry didn't make sense, et cetera. And, I really begged him to sort of, this isn't an easy industry to just wade into.
Totally right. Well, he must be okay because I don't think he's starving, notwithstanding.
No, I don't think so either. But, ultimately, like I said, even every now and then I cross paths with some of the luminaries and, you'll see a guy like Bezos or someone like that who's far richer than this guy. They'll throw in 5 million in a deal. They're not throwing 70 million in. It's a lot of money for an individual. A fund is another story, but a person, that's. Well, anyway.
Martin, can I get your email? I'll send you an email.
Yeah, it's martin@dl.software. I make financial software, so I see your guy's name on every. In fact, we made a thing that's like hide class action lawsuits. It's such it's just such a thing for institutions that, it's reminder, class deadline, and I think we're the only firm that's done that, which is, I think, some people want to see them, which is fine. You can see them if you want.
But I'll tell you, not a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a lot of volume. I think you guys are the best in the business, and everybody wants market share, but it's, and I can't look. It's your complete right to do so. It's just that some of our clients don't want to read them, and that's and some of them do.
You said it was Martin at what?
DL, deep learning, DL.software. I know a lot about how these guys work. It's pretty rare to see these guys drop in gigantic numbers. Duck hammer, it's so they're not doing the ATM, Michael. It's not an ATM. They definitely could not do an ATM. They did a registered direct. No, I think I might short more. Do you have another calculus that makes sense? Is there look, I'm open-minded. Is there an alternative to what I just described? The only alternative, okay, look, here's an alternative, and this could be real. A hedge fund looks at it, okay, they say, they don't care about the stock price, okay? They say, oh, I forgot you guys existed. You guys are coming out with data on Monday, isn't that right? Yes, it is. Well, what I'd like to do is put 20 million in the company. Really? You know I can't tell you the data, right? I know, but I want to do it. I'm bullish, and they're earnestly bullish. And the fund says, put me in. What price do you want to do? And they say, well, the NASDAQ last sale rule says we have to do it at 6:30. I can't do it at a higher price. That's the highest price I can do it at. I can do it at a discount to 6:30, but you don't want that. Stock's at 14. And they say, all right, shake hands. We'll do it then. But again, if I were the company, I wouldn't take the money on Friday, right? That doesn't add up, because if it's Friday and you know the data's good, why in the world? You say, if I were the CFO, and I've been the CEO of a company in this exact situation, I'd say, listen, Larry, Steve, John, whoever called me, I love you. I wish I could give you shares right now. You're just going to have to see on Monday. And on Monday, I drop the best data ever. I go to Morgan Stanley. No offense to the wonderful people at the smaller bank. Every bank has clients, and they need clients big and small. I'd go to Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs, and I'd say, get me the Baker Brothers, get me Fidelity. We're the new kid on the block, big Alzheimer's drug. I'm raising 600 million, 200 million, whatever. And I'd say, no thanks to the $6. Those days are over. We're talking $60, right? So it doesn't make sense. It has to be bad. Data's good. If I'm the CEO of this company, I'm short and more. If I'm the CEO of this company, why? Why would I do this deal? I would say, I worked so hard for so long to start this company and to build it up, and you want to scam me by buying stock at 6? And I'm about to unleash the best data I've been waiting years for, and you want stock at 6? No way. The only way I'm doing this is I'm looking at it saying, this data sucks. I got nothing in the tank. I got a couple million left. I want to keep going with this thing. Maybe I'll try depression. Maybe I'll try Alzheimer's again. Doesn't matter. But I want to keep going with this thing. I'm going to need some cash. 20 million lasts a little bit. That lasts a good year. Let me get this 20 million, drop our bomb on Monday, try to spin it as best we can, but I need this 20 million. There's no way the stock's worth $6.30 if management is willing to sell at $6.30. Make sense? Makes sense, don't it? I can't find another explanation. I mean, I'd love to have a long come in here and figure that out, but let me get as much short as I can here.